As it says at the beginning of the article, I have to agree. I don't think about South Korea as a place with a drug problem. Having grown up somewhere else and visited a few other countries, even after reading recent news reports, I still think South Korea is a country that doesn't have a drug problem. Yeah. But that's not to say that there aren't drugs in South Korea. Some people, there will always be, some problems, big or small, but I think epidemic is quite a strong word in this context. Some of the issues that you may have heard about, of course, there was the rather massive Burning Sun scandal that involved drugs and sex trafficking as well. A few other celebrities have also been caught with drugs, some minor drugs, some more serious ones, but perhaps a newer development, a newer type of drug problem is people getting addicted to prescription drugs. Maybe sometimes unethical doctors prescribing them for a bribe, for extra money, or people even begging for extra drugs because they believe it's going to help them in some way. For example, ADHD medications. Some people believe that it will help their children to study harder. So are they attempting to illegally get hold of these drugs to improve test scores in their kids? That probably is the most troubling of all these issues because, education is highly competitive in South Korea, and anything that gives one kid a slight advantage over another is a tempting prospect. So certainly, perhaps that is something to worry about in the future.
Yeah, while I was reading the article, doctors padding their bottom line with prescribing things to children was bad enough. And then I read it about the ADHD medications given to children for studying, and it's shocking, but actually it happened in the US a lot too. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure about parents. Actually, children did this by themselves a lot of the time. There would be, especially with high school and college, there'd be, Adderall or ADHD medication being sold, bought, distributed for the studying sort of procedures and stuff. I think the parents would be aghast if they learned that their children were taking drugs at all. But that's not to say parents haven't done that. There are cases of parents doing that. But yeah, children did it a lot on their own. Illicit substances in the schools.
In the UK, the one I heard about that surrounded ADHD medications was parents stealing their kids' ADHD medication because the kids had ADHD, so the kids needed the medication, but the parents wanted to have a go because it was kind of fun. It's basically an upper, tricking the doctors into giving extra. And they got addicted to it.
Have you heard of any of the drug-related incidents in the article?
I've heard. I was in Korea, as you were, during the Burning Sun scandal. It was the biggest news for weeks and weeks and weeks as bits and pieces kept unfolding and more people got involved and more celebrities and more government people. It was just, you'd have to live under a rock to not hear about that one. Some of the other ones I hadn't heard about, like... Spike. I hadn't heard about that. That was quite of a surprise because, as far as I'd heard, he seemed like a pretty stand-up guy. Seemed.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that, and I wouldn't want to. With the amount that he was caught with, it was definitely an amount that was a bit too much for himself to take. So. He definitely was looking, well, I can't say definitely, but it seems like he might be looking to party for a while. He might have been a great guy otherwise, but just try to stay away from illegal drugs, especially meth, just meth in general. Gosh, it's not a thing you should mess with. Like, among illegal drugs, there are arguments, even among scientists, which ones should be labeled as more dangerous and which ones actually have use in real-world applications. But no one has ever given a case for meth. Meth products like the ADHD medication does take a methyl part of that sort of chemical compound, but that's not the meth we're talking about. We're talking about the crystal meth, that one.
Methamphetamine.
Yes, exactly. That is not going to be something that doctors would ever want to prescribe or use in medication.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen the pictures online of like, you know, teenage girl 2 years later after being addicted to meth, and she looks 50 years old because it has just destroyed her body.
The picking of the skin, the teeth. Like in the past, there was the here's your brain on drugs commercials, and it was about like marijuana or something, and you're like, oh, how cute. Nowadays, you can see that in meth products or meth addicts.
Have you heard about any other physical or mental side effects with various drug addiction?
I actually separate, not me, a lot of scientists separate the difference between mental addiction, social addiction, and physical addiction. Physical addiction means your body is now needing that substance to function normally. Mental means you are now relying on that product to be a replacement for emotions such as happiness. And then, of course, social means you feel pressured into taking that substance for social reasons, right? So physical side effects vary by drugs and everything, but mental and social, I think that's something that we need to start separating and looking at deeper. Because a lot of these substances that are considered to be addictive are actually just socially addictive, not physically at all. And then other ones that are considered to be quite safe and prescribed by doctors are physically addictive and need to be taken much more seriously.
Yes. Well, yeah, I do feel like at least now society is talking about the line between what's a legal drug and what's an illegal drug, or what's a medically prescribed necessity and what's a sort of party drug is being questioned, and we are starting to think about what we're making legal and why, and reassigning things. Or certainly the Americans are ahead of the game on this one, I think, you know, really making some of the lighter things legal, like marijuana.
Yeah, and even saying like we need to start studying LSD. We need to start studying marijuana. We have to study these drugs and see if there is any application for them in any sense. And if there's not, whatever. If there is, though, we need to find out.
Let's smoke up some new vocabulary and enjoy the slow burn of new words. See you in the next one, guys. Bye.
Scoff.
Scoff.
Illicit.
Illicit.
Conglomerate.
Conglomerate.
Sedative.
Sedative.
Avaricious.
Avaricious.